What's up? DJ Bobby here. We are talking about uh, making your own RPG today. Uh, and I want to make one using a D12. Uh, there are other games out there currently in production. And, Matt Koval's game, MCDM Productions game. I don't remember the name of it. And Matt Mercer's game, don't remember the name of it either. They sort of inspired me, along with How to Be a Great GM. That guy inspired me. He has a bounty hunters tabletop RPG that you should totally check out. It's really cool. It's a system I've never encountered before. It's not a very complicated system. Pretty easy to learn. It's bounty hunters. Space bounty hunters. That's essentially what it is. Pretty cool. You should definitely check that out. You should definitely check him out. He's one of the people that really inspired me to do this. All right, I had this idea. All right, I got the idea whenever I seen Matt Koval's game. It runs on 2d6. It's like BattleTech, 2d6 plus a modifier, I believe. Uh, uh, Matt Mercer's game runs on 2d12. And I don't know if that's 2d12 plus a modifier. I assume it would be, but I'm not for sure. So I got the idea. Why not run a game on 1d12? Alright. I proposed this idea to my BattleTech players because there's BattleTech, you roll a lot of dice. Usually you roll like a bunch of two pairs of d6s that are alike, and then you see if you hit or miss because you're rolling so many times. You could either re-roll a bunch, these two dice like 5, 6, or 10 times sometimes, and seeing if you're hitting or missing. That might be faster actually than rolling like all 10 pairs at the same time. That's a lot of dice, especially whenever you're trying to efficiently sort them and pick them out and seeing if they hit or miss in an efficient time frame. Alright, so I suggested, they said no. They said no because it randomizes the outcomes are more randomized on a d12. That's why a lot of people don't like using a d12. And honestly, if you use a d12 correctly, because it's just a number die 1 through 12, 12 a number sided dice 1 through 12, and it being more randomized than, let's say, 2d6 plus a modifier, that's a nice bell curve. Or I don't have 2d10s on me right now, but 2d10s is, the percentile dies, rolls, or, one roll 1d10 twice and you'll get it. That's another way of doing it. I haven't seen anybody do it this way. That's why I want to do it this way. So, what have I come up with so far? I know this is 5 minutes into the video, and I'm sorry about that. Hopefully you're here for the long haul because I don't think this is gonna be a short one. All right. This card, I messed up and I did a bunch of different times, but alright, so this card's inspired by BattleTech's card. If you have played BattleTech Alpha Strike's cards are literally card sized. Now, if you play regular Battletech, it's like a super big piece of paper, and it's crazy intimidating slash complicating looking. All right, making your own RPG. Like, I'm not gonna go over all the stuff that I need you need to make it. I'm talking about my RPG right now. All right, why I wanted it to be the D12, uh, and what's it inspired by, and how it's gonna work. I'm not gonna, you need to do this or that to make one because I've never done this before. Shout out to How to Be a Great GM. He inspired me a lot. All right. So, my game that I want to make is called. Uh, I should probably rewrite the title on here. Because it's called Mecha. Kaiju. Okay. So, it's called Mecha Kaiju. With the exclamation points, I wanted, like, I have a cover. The cover, I want, Mecha on the top, Kaiju on the bottom. Mecha with the exclamation point, then Kaiju on the bottom with the exclamation point. But I want, like, Mecha to be readable from this direction. And then, like, if you flip it, I want Kaiju to be readable from this direction as well. So if you're looking at it, Kaiju would be upside down. You know what I mean? Anyways, that was the cover. You don't need to know about the cover. All right. So, all right, Mecha Kaiju. All right, how does it work? All right, ideas and stuff. All right, you see the crit box? I stole that from BattleTech. You got armor points and you got SPs. SPs structure points. Uh, yes, I'm sort of stealing this from BattleTech as well. BattleTech Alpha Strike. But I'm renaming it. You gotta do your own spin, rename it your own stuff. Alright. I'm probably not gonna, like, armor points and structure points probably aren't gonna be the final names. Anyways, they're just working names, along with, the crit box, probably be the crit box maybe. Uh, if I think I can get away with it just being a crit box. The abilities list or box or whatever, I think that can be that as well. Alright. So you get to name your own kaiju. You get to name your own pilot. Pilots uh, don't get, like, stats or cards or uh, pilots are kind of like pilots and tamers, because you're either in my game Mecha Kaiju, the setting is you're either a pilot or you're a kaiju tamer. If you're a mecha pilot, you're against the kaiju, and if you're a kaiju tamer, you're trying to, survive essentially. I kind of want it to sort of be like the commandos and the Gorgonites in Small Soldiers, where, like, the commandos are trying to kill all the Gorgonites, and the Gorgonites are just trying to peacefully live or whatever, and the commandos want to extinguish them because they're, quote, monsters or whatever. All right, that's kind of the sort of the plot here. The mecha pilots are against the kaiju people, the kaiju monsters in this game, and the kaiju monsters are the tamers are trying to peacefully tame the kaiju instead of killing them, whereas the pilots just want to kill them. Okay, uh, it has, sort of a versus. It's a unique setting, I thought. I've not seen any settings where uh, you can make your own mech and or kaiju. All right. So the abilities list might be a little small on the card. Uh, and I wanted it to look like a Pokemon or a Magic card. That's why I drew it up this way. I think most people like card layouts like this and are familiar with them being like this, and it's not very intimidating to look at. Uh, so that's why I chose this layout. All right, the abilities. All right, How to Be a Good GM has his own game that he made called Bounty Hunters. You should check it out. It's a very unique system where you either can or can't do stuff. There are no die rolls. It's very cool. Like, if you ever wanted to make your own RPG, check out that video on his channel. It's great. But, alright, the abilities list. Alright, in his game, the abilities list, either you could do the stuff on the list, or you couldn't. And I wanted to do something sort of similar. Like, okay, so I didn't want stats. You see, no stats. There are no stats. I don't want stats. I don't have to remember, oh, I do all these, plus and minus stats. All of them. I want stuff like the abilities list. If you have an ability, like, you sort of write down your ability. Again, this is very small spot for it. It should probably be bigger. Uh, I, yeah, it should definitely be bigger. Anyways, and if you can, what a simple term of what it does, +3 to your attack, or plus, I don't know, 3 to your mobility, or plus, we'll say 5, or plus 15 feet to your mobility, or whatever. You know what I mean? Uh, though I think there will be movement points, not points, but like feet on like each kaiju and each mech. Um, so let's put that up here. Let's just put I don't know. We'll say 30 feet. We'll go movement under. Alright, 30 feet movement on the card. So now we have essentially all the stuff that we need. Alright, this, like, the list can be like flying, it could be swimming, it could be, I don't know, climbing, it could be a bunch of stuff. I haven't thought of all the abilities that you can have in this game yet. That's sort of why I have all these cards out here, right here. These cards are from King of Tokyo. King of Tokyo is a board game, and I really like the artwork. I hope that this dude, I hope I, man, if I could get this dude to work on this project, to do the cover, I don't know. This artwork's dope. Like, all the artwork's dope. Like this. Like, look. Poison quills. Doesn't that look dope? Anyways, so you got like a bunch of... You see the abilities list? They would be stuff like this. Extra head. gives you an extra die. It could be very close to this card, actually. An extra damage die. I've talked about this on Twitter. I've talked about all this on Twitter. If you're interested in a more in depth analysis and me rambling to no one or myself, you can go check that out there. But like all these would just be added abilities that you could buy, or you could not buy with skill points that you get through leveling up. And maybe some of these upgrade. That's why I talked about before too. Like maybe the poison quills like upgrade, so like they're not just like poison. Like maybe like whenever you first get the ability, poison quills is just you have poison quills, but like the skill tree would be like eventually you could explode your poison quills as like an attack move or something, doing added damage or something like that. Extra head, maybe an extra damage die. I don't know. This one, maybe it's harder for the pupil to find you or to see. There's no perception, like plus or minus on here, so like maybe there will be like perception abilities because everything will have to be an ability because I'm relying on the ability to do a lot, sort of. I don't want to have to deal with random stat math. I'd rather just pick cool features every time I level up. And hopefully it doesn't get too complicated. That's why I want, skill trees. So, like, hopefully all the skills don't get too convoluted, too also similar. Um, too many and too similar. So, implementing a skilled tree might, counterbalance that. All right, Metamorphosis, this is just another cool card. All these cards are really cool. I stacked the deck with like a bunch of my favorite cards. All right, but all right, getting back to all right, armor points. What are armor points? What are structure points? Structure points, yeah, armor points. I sort of stole them from BattleTech. All right, it's sort of your life points, and well, this would be your armor points. Would be like your skin. I don't know. Your skin points and your structure points would be your like vital organs and stuff like that, or your like we're talking about mecha or kaiju, right? So it would be your bones or your if you're a robot, it would be your critical engines and whatnot, or something like that. The crit box. The crit box, I'm totally taking that from BattleTech as well. Uh, and maybe I'll have to rename these things, especially the armor points and structure points. Uh, the crit box, in BattleTech, whenever you crit, you get to roll on this crit box, or I don't think you roll on it. Somehow it determines how what I think, like if you have structure one, it does like it does a critical to this or a critical to that. I don't remember how crits work in BattleTech Alpha Strike, but the crit box is pretty cool. I thought I could use it in the same way, like whenever you crit, you I think, in my opinion, all right. So armor points are like sort of your shield points essentially, and structure points are like your vital stuff. So you have way less structure points than armor points usually, and I think that whenever you crit, you should be able to hit the structure for a point or whatever. and do something on the crit box because it would make the game more fun. In my opinion, like that's the stuff that I liked from BattleTech Alpha Strike. I didn't like all the I don't know, field hex modifiers on the fields where you had to add a modifier on the field if you're hiding in a tree, or if you're on like elevated land or something like that. Sometimes you'd have modifiers that would make you harder to hit or easier to hit. I don't know. You don't have none of that stuff. I just took what I liked from all the systems essentially, and combined it. Like that. Thank you. How to be a good GM. His bounty hunters pool skill system is essentially what I'm relying on here instead of stats. So thank you for that. That was a big one. All right, this is the last thing that I want to go over. I know, 21 minutes. I know I've been talking a lot. All right. So, and I'm sure I've restated stuff multiple times. This is like my third or fourth take. I'm sorry if it's very rambly. But last thing, here we go. All right, the D12. If you roll on it, how does it work? Isn't that the most important thing? All right, so if you roll, let's say a 5, all right, I think I had this written down on Twitter, but let's say one is fail, something bad happens. That's what 1 is. All right, 2 through 5, which is what I got, is you do what you want it to do, but something bad happens. So 1, something bad happens and you fail. 2 through 5, it does what you want it to do, but something bad happens. Like you fall down on your face or something like that. Like after you hit the monster, I don't know, with your metal or let's say after you hit the monster with your laser sword, you fall prone because you messed up your footing whenever you lunged or something like that. Anyways, all right, 6 through 9, it does what you want it to do. Period. It just does what you want it to do. 10 through 11. It does what you want it to do, and something good happens. So, let's say if you hit the monster with your laser sword, maybe the monster falls prone instead of you. You know what I mean? Alright. 12, you crit, and something good happens. So, as I stated before, if you crit, I think you take a point to structure points, and then you get to roll on the crit box, or not roll on the crit box. It could be a randomized roll on the crit box to see what you get, you know what I mean? Like roll a d4, or I don't know. Like depending on how many different options you have. It could be. It could be like a d12 roll actually. Like let's say you have 4 options. You divvy that up into 4s, right? 3 times 4, right? That'd be 12. So that's 3. So you divvy up this in thirds, and then if you get 1 through 3, you get I don't know, minus to movement, or minus to weapons, minus to damage, or something like that. That's usually how BattleTech does their crit box system. But that's it. That's the whole thing, the whole idea. Uh, Mecha Kaiju. Uh, oh, uh, yeah. All right. So, lastly, yeah, you get to do all this cool stuff like skill lists. It could also include like I, there's tons of skills that you could put in there, like amphibious skill, aquatic, or not just aquatic, like maybe, I don't know, like maybe a rebirth skill, like after you die you come back to life as something stronger or something like that, or a regeneration skill, or like wings to fly, or whenever you take damage from like energy weapons, it powers you up. I have tons of randomized ideas that I could. I mean, they're not all coming from here, guys. I'm just listing them off the top of my head. Okay. I have tons of more abilities and whatnot to help you shape how you draw your mech slash kaiju whenever you make your character. Well, whenever you make your mech. You also get a pilot, and that pilot, this is the last thing I want to go over. Can your pilots die? Yeah, I think your pilots can die. Uh, if you don't have, like, let's say you don't have a skill or something like that. Like, let's say you have, like, a ejection skill. Maybe your pilot can eject, and, like, you could, if your pilot survives, like, your eject from the mech or whatever like that, then maybe the the next mech you make gets like a bonus or something like that. Uh, Similar to like the kaiju tamer, if you're like, let's say, all right, yes, you could totally die for your kaiju tamer. Particularly because you're just on the battlefield, like right next to the scaling. I want to mention on this too, because these guys aren't like as big as buildings. These guys are. I want them to be able to like play on buildings like they're jungle gym. So I think they should be like tops 20 feet tall, maybe, maybe, yeah, probably tops 20 feet tall, maybe a little bit more taller than that. But that's it. Be like War of the Monsters. If you played War of the Monsters, they can scale all the buildings like they're a jungle gym and, you know, destroy them, use pieces from the buildings as weapons and stuff like that. All really cool things. That'd be a cool ability. All right, I'm done. I have tons of ideas. I'm bursting with ideas, as you can tell. I have a lot to work on. I hope you had fun listening to this, and I hope you enjoy your holidays